Gratitude, everyone. This video has a little issue with sound, but bear with me.
Divines and Divinettes, it's Bree India, Self Journeys at 808 Tavern. Today is June 24, 2022, and I'm beginning my Self Journeys retreat in 808 Tavern 90-day retreat. The last time I visited this journey was 2020. This morning, I'm starting off with journaling and breakfast. I'm in the transitional house for the program that I was mentioning for the past few months that I was in. Soon to be leaving out from the program as my 60 days is way past. So far, for this particular 90-day retreat, I know that it'll be more an escapism because I'm going to be doing some traveling this summer. So as I've been here, getting myself on my feet, getting some things resolved. The program that I'm in, if you are a veteran, it's called VOTR, Veterans on the Rise. It's in DC. There are programs like this across the country, but there are different names for the programs. So never feel like you can't, reach out to get help if your pride won't, stop you from it. As for me, this day is I'm gonna start off the 90-day retreat with this day being a day of self-rejuvenation. That's because as I do this 90-day retreat, I'm going to explore some different self journeys in which to allow myself to get some grounding. For the past few months, I've also been in my self decluttering season, so I got rid of a lot of things, but also I was able to give to charity things that I didn't want to just throw away. It's always good to be able to be willing to recycle things. Just because you don't need it doesn't mean that someone else can't use it. And I also was able to get rid of a lot of the paperwork that I was holding on to. I was holding on to a lot of paperwork that was like over 10 to 15 years old. So, in general, I had to do some shredding. I actually had to sit down and look through the papers and see what documents I needed, what were necessary to be kept, and what I could store and file, and what I was going to get rid of. It also helped me to kind of backtrack to remember what things I was initially doing before I ended up in this predicament of being homeless, so that I could stay on the course of what I'm planning on doing for the remainder of this year, as well as just moving forward in general. I'll speak more about where I'm going to be traveling, what I'll be doing, and what I'm doing different. But to start off as well, in the beginning of this year, I was put to a test as far as my vehicle. So as you know, I was having issues with the place that I was prior living in Baltimore City. I loved it initially. I loved the community, the people, but it was just the management was kind of shifty. They didn't really do what they needed to do when it came to communicating with the veterans program I was in that was paying my rent and everything. So they made it complicated for me. Not to mention, there were people going in and out of my apartment without my permission, unbeknownst to me, and I wasn't comfortable with that. So I had gotten a storage unit to put my things in because people were tampering with my stuff, smoking around my clothes and my things like that. And I'm trying to do interviews, but you got somebody smoking, around my clothes. And you know how it is with jobs in Maryland anyway. Now in DC, it's a different story because recreational marijuana is allowed, so it's not an issue. But when I say smoking, I don't personally like cigarettes, Black and Milds, all those types of things. I'm not into that. I don't resort to substances anyway when I'm going through things. I actually like to detox and stay away from things like that. And also, I got rid of, I've been abstinent for 3 years now from drinking alcohol. So my official 3-year mark for that will be July 21st. So I'll do like a little celebration for it. But for now, we're just starting off with this being day one of Self Journeys, an 808 Tavern 90-day retreat, and it is the day of self rejuvenation. Also with my vehicle. So I've been kind of going back and forth with myself about if I want to get a vehicle first or get a place first. So I've decided that I want to get my place first and then, seek out a vehicle. But I had gotten rid of my Clyde, as you all know, from my previous Self Journeys retreat in 808 Tavern in 2020. My Clyde was my 2013 Audi A6 that I bought for myself as a graduation gift when I graduated college. And I used that vehicle to travel around the U.S. when I was visiting different states and doing interviews with different artists and different essential workers. So when I was able to do that, it definitely brought a good, refreshing energy to myself, my mental health, and my wellness and well-being in general. But this year in February, I want to say, yes, it was February this year, 2022, that I was decided, I took it upon myself to choose to make the sacrifice of of selling Clyde. So Clyde is no longer with me. I found out recently that someone had gotten in an accident with the vehicle and it was still registered as me being the owner. So that's a different story for another day. But for now, I just want to mention that I had gotten rid of the vehicle so that I could kind of start fresh, just like I did when I cut my hair in 2019. As you can see, it's been growing back a lot. I had literally cut it all the way down. But this particular style has been very convenient for me. I haven't officially locked it yet. As you can see, it's twists. But the texture of my hair will easily lock if I wanted it to with my curls and coils. But that's not my focus right now. I just needed my hair to be out of my way so that I could focus on the other things that I have in play. Also, so getting rid of my Clyde was a part of my self-decluttering season, just as well as releasing myself from that apartment lease that I was in Baltimore was also a part of my self-decluttering season. Yes, it put me in a predicament where I was yet again kind of like homeless, but I won't say that I was on the street. As you know, I do have loving family, so if I really, really needed a floor to sleep on or a couch, I could go to them. However, I'm taking it upon myself to find my own avenues to be able to regain my independence and my comfortability and stability. So I'm taking my time with each program that offers itself. Along the way, I've been able to kind of see what programs are actually efficient for veterans. Because as you know, I was already planning my own veterans program, such as this. I've been able to get in touch with the people who present the grants for people who have these programs. And I'm just taking my time to structure my own foundation so that when I do emerge into this particular field, I have a full grasp of how I want to present my particular program for people, as well as it not just being for veterans, as you know, but I won't get into detail too much about that portion. Just know that I take my time. I'm not a person who rushes into things. I'm not a person who needs to overwhelm myself in time when I know that I'm priority. And that's the big thing about self journeys is the I am who, always identifying with who I am and staying grounded in what I represent, but also what I need for myself. So that's what this 90-day retreat is always going to be something that I consistently do as often as I need to. But right now it's a biannual thing because it helps me to stay focused on my spiritual centers, and it helps me to kind of retract from the distractions of like people, places, and things around me. You can't stop people from being around you, but the point is to allow yourself to keep your energy and not let it be over drowned by someone else's, so that you can be able to keep your stability as well in other ways. So, with self rejuvenation, I've had a season where in my previous 90-day retreat, I had a day of self refresh. That is different from this day of self rejuvenation. With this being day one, Um, I could have let it be a day of reset, but it's not technically a reset day. So it's more like a day where I'm going to do some cleansing, some smudging. I'm going to definitely do a couple of hours of meditation outside. I may let my feet sink into the soil. And I'm also going to get rid of some things in my space that I'm in right now to lessen the amount of things that I need. Like I stated, I have a few more days left in this particular transitional housing program. So I'm not really trying to have a bunch of things to have to carry around with me. So I will be taking my trip to my storage unit, extending my storage unit months, as well as adding things to that unit that I don't need on my person. Um, Especially because this year, when I take my trips, or when I do my expeditions, I won't have my own personal vehicle. I'll probably be taking more like public transportation and stuff like that, which is fine. I also want to give a shout out to Zipcar because that's been a very convenient option for me when it comes to renting a vehicle on the go, until I do get a vehicle. But I want to kind of eliminate that as well because it gets to be expensive. And then when you start to add it up, as I'm focusing on budgeting as well, when it comes to my rejuvenation, when I started adding it up, I'm like, I could have saved some of that money to just get a little, hoopty, a little vehicle to get me by and by. Um, Although a vehicle is a major responsibility, it's not as bad as spending $150 um, just to have a vehicle for 24 hours. That gets to be expensive, like I said. So it's about the rejuvenation of how I shape my schedule, as well as how I spend my money, um, and planning a little bit more effectively than what I was before and what I have been doing. And I feel like that'll help me out, a bit. I've eliminated also saying yes to things that are not conducive to what I'm doing at this very time. I don't mind going out places, enjoying myself, and this and that and the third. But if you've been keeping up with my channel, you know that I like to stay focused on the stability of where I am. So when I get and reach the first phase of what I'm trying to do personally, then I'll start seeking out um, the more fun stuff that I used to do. But when it comes to the traveling, I don't feel like there's any issue with me doing that because you never know. I might travel and find somewhere else that I want to live away from where I currently am. So that's why I love being able to explore and get out and do things that help me to kind of open my mind and broaden my horizons. So I don't know if I mentioned, but this morning's breakfast for me, I just made a waffle freezer kind. I threw these English muffins grill. Yesterday I made some General Toast and some spinach and jasmine rice. So I'm using the shrimp and spinach. I made like a little omelet and a sandwich. So that's that. And then I have my avocado. I'm probably gonna eat half of each today and the other half tomorrow. Today is a Friday, so I'm supposed to be having some things going on this weekend as well. Which, as my self journeys 90-day retreat continues, you'll see what tomorrow brings me. Not every day has something planned. Not every day means I have to go outside and be involved in anything. But I will be inserting myself today in nature, as well as inserting myself in closing out my self decluttering. Also, with self decluttering, it's been having to edit videos from the past 2 years, gathering my information from my music, kind of organizing my music videos that I have, I initially intended on getting started with actually doing the other visuals for my music albums, but I think that this year I'm just going to take it light on myself and just present to you all the music videos that I've already completed. And then for the future, I'll add to that series. But for now, stay tuned for that because I will be releasing my music videos as they've already been done. Um, Shouts out to the producers and editors who took the time to let me book with them to get those things completed. I think that I'm gonna wait. This mango isn't, but I'll wait for this because I want this to be completely orange. But you can eat it. You can eat the mangoes like this as well. Another thing I've been doing too is a lot of scalp massaging, a lot of hair treatments because I'm working on a new product for a Dream Body Cafe, and it's not that it's brand new. It's new to you. It's old to me. But once I get that on up and running, I'll be posting that on my website. That's about it when it comes to my Dream Body Cafe product. It won't be excessive. I initially wanted to do a package, but I'm going to start with one item that I use and go from there. I think that's pretty much all of the things that I wanted to share for now. There'll be a second half to today's self-rejuvenation video. I'll most likely be seeing you in the second half of today's Self Journeys Retreat in 808 Tavern outside. So I'm going to enjoy my breakfast and do my journaling, and I'll talk to you soon. And unity, peace, love, and truth. Sending you love and light. This is Big India, and I'll talk to you soon.
Greetings and gratitude, divines and divinettes. It's Brie India. It is still June 24th, 2022, and this is day one of my Self Journeys Retreat in 808 Tavern, the 90-day retreat edition. And it is 2022, so this is the second go round of the retreat. It is solo so far, but I am joining a friend this weekend, so I'm closing out with this second part of the video to let you all know that today has been good so far, and I anticipate that it will close the same or better. And I'll speak more about what's going to be going on this weekend, so stay tuned. Also, as well, if you're joining the 90-day retreat with me, it's currently Self-Rejuvenation Day, so let yourself rejuvenate in whatever way works for you, whatever way you feel as though you need rejuvenation. And don't forget to journal, which I'm in the middle of doing right now. So I'm doing my second journal. Yes, I did 2 journals on the day one. So it's about to be a completely different type of Self Journeys retreat, 90 days. But I'm looking forward to the things that I'll decide to do, as well as looking forward to things that I'll kind of close cycles on, close chapters on, and open up new things. As you can see, I rinsed my hair, did something a little more effective for the color. And this is how I'll be wearing it this weekend. Maybe I'll put it up, but otherwise, anticipate seeing these in my hair for most of the retreat, at least until July. But otherwise, stay tuned and look forward to some new things. This is Brie India signing out, and allow unity, peace, love, and truth. Stay true to you. Bye. All love. Gratitude, divines and divinettes. Brie India and my Self Journeys 90-day retreat in 808 Tavern. This is the 90-day retreat edition 2 and year 2022. It is June 24th, 2022, and it is 11:33 p.m. Friday night, and it is still a day of self-rejuvenation. I wanted to be able to close out today with some honesty of how the day went. Honestly, my day was good. I didn't have any personal issues with the things that I chose to do. And moving forward, I can say that honestly today I released some things with the particular friendship that I was telling you that I was intending on having a weekend with. Surprisingly enough, maybe it'll be surprised to someone else. Honestly, I won't even say I'm surprised. I kind of anticipated just about anything. And when you don't get the opportunity to really, in any relationship, be heard and taken serious, you have to come to a point where you're like able to accept that a person is only going to want to understand and be understood themselves, not necessarily wanting to put any effort in working with you, not necessarily wanting to put any time into feeling and understanding the pain that you felt or the reasons why you may have separated in the first place in that friendship, relationship, marriage, intimacy. And the person doesn't want to understand how you personally recover from heartbreak, but want to try to torment you in the process of your healing. You have to recognize that, and you have to allow yourself to learn how to release. So for today's quote, or the quote of the day, when someone wants to pretend you don't exist, then disappear. And I'm not saying that quote for anyone else. Like I said, this is a 90-day retreat for myself. If you take a 90-day retreat or you do any type of form of retreat for yourself, I personally feel like that's a beautiful thing. And everyone's retreat is different. It's unique to you. It's unique to your issues and your things that you want to resolve for yourself. I don't like to pretend when it comes to things in my life. If I'm in an environment that's uncomfortable and somebody is unacknowledging what I'm feeling or how I feel. When I am in a situation with someone and I'm not being heard, or I feel like I'm being ignored or neglected, and I speak on it, and then I'm not, still hearing any type of change, hearing or seeing any type of change, I then just kind of choose to kind of just remove myself. And of course, I'll give time and give way to a person wanting to work with me. But when a person pretends like I'm harassing them, or like the effort that I put in to constantly be back and forth in my energy of giving them the time of day to come to the terms of being an honest person, to come to the terms of telling their truth to me in return of why they did what they did, as well as understanding how to listen to why I made the decisions I made, that's a person that doesn't want to work with me. Excuse me. That's a person that doesn't want to work with you, or doesn't want to work with me. In this case, I'm talking about my own experience. So I'm out here because that person that I thought I was building something with or had a bond with, basically finally expressed their truth about they didn't really have my back the way that they exclaimed. Pretty sure a lot of people were able to persuade them to make decisions on our relationship. So I'd rather that person just be free of me and me be free of them. It was hard for me for the past few years to really allow myself in this particular friendship to let it unfold so that I could grow and to heal from my heartbreak, especially when you're dealing with a person who will hurt you and then try to twist your pain into making it seem like it's theirs or make it about them somehow. You know what I'm saying? If you, for example, are in an actual intimate relationship with your best friend, and that person turns around and becomes a liar to you, doing things behind your back, stabbing you in your back and different things like that. But then when you take the time to release yourself and go and get away from the environment that is obviously now toxic because of how things have transpired, that person can't seem to understand that you're trying to grow and that you don't feel like you're able to grow in that particular environment. That person refuses to grow with you, to say, okay, let's go get our own foundation and build together on where we are. Find ways to speak about how we are actually feeling so that we can be able to put it out on the table. If a person is not choosing to be in tune with their feelings and their emotions and being honest with you about where they want to go, but also what has been hindering them from even moving forward with you, why haven't they been able to be honest with you about why they did what they did to betray you, but also how they felt about how you responded to the betrayal. If a person doesn't want to have any type of communication about your friendship and why it was destroyed, doesn't want to admit to their part in it, as well as admitting in their part in how it wasn't even able to be repaired because that person didn't put any effort into that. Yeah, I don't feel like if you the one that got hurt or backstabbed, you should be having to do all the work anyway. And that's a lesson for me, a hard lesson to learn, because I'm always the type of person that goes back and forgives people who do me dirty. And so, like I said, the quote of the day for me was, when someone wants to pretend you do not exist, then disappear. And that's what I do, and that's what I will continue to do. So I suggest, people that want to build a relationship with me, you got to be solid. You got to be able to be like, okay, we're going through this, but, why do you want to leave? Why do you not feel comfortable here right now? And if I give you this space, will you be able to communicate with me? Or why do you need the space? Or maybe put your foot down and say, I don't want you to leave. Let's sit here and let's talk about it. Let's sit here and let's work it out. If I don't get that type of energy, I'm not about to beg for it, but I'm going to get my space. If that person wants to go where I go and just be in silence while I have to come to terms with the fact that you did me dirty, that's fine. You can be there. But I need to leave the environment where that toxic seed was first, created and planted, because I don't want to carry on growing something by myself, or having a one-sided relationship where I'm breadcrumbing. I'm being breadcrumbed, and I'm giving as much as I can, but then I'm being breadcrumbed. Like, I've dealt with that in both intimate relationships, familiar relationships, as well as friendships. I'm tired of that. So today being the first day of my 90-day retreat this year, I'm doing things different, y'all. Like I said, it's not me who wanted to leave or needed to leave. It was that person wanting to be able to do some type of vindictive get back. So you want to be vengeful, but you will never speak to me again. You will never hear from me again. I'm not going out of my way for someone that I try to build something with, and they never really did anything to meet me halfway, or even succeed being halfway and be the actual person in the relationship to do something to be able to repair it on their part. So no more one-sided stuff for me, cut and dry. But in the essence of moving forward and in light of self, let nothing damage the energy one has built. So I will not let anything damage the energy I've built on my own heartache. Heartbreak is the toughest way to heal, but it can help if it comes from someone who wants to work with you and through it. If there is not a person within a heartbreak session who chooses to work with the person who is heartbroken, one must understand how to learn how to release. If one chooses not to release, they can stay and they can suffer through the silence. Or they can stay and they can argue every day until they feel as though the other person is going to choose to make it right. Everyone chooses to do things when it comes to healing in the way that feels like it's feeding to their soul. Some people don't even know that their soul is broken, so they continue to remain in places that are tearing them down or maybe a detriment to their health. If one is refusing to be in tune with their emotions and refusing to share emotions with someone that they want to be intimate with or have a friendship with, that person may be someone who is not prepared to be honest. And if you are, I suggest, if you want to keep your energy continuing to elevate, you do choose to separate yourself. I physically separate myself from places when I feel as though an environment is not conducive to my needs at that time. It takes two, period. There's not really much else to say there. If you're going to be in any form of relationship, it takes two. It takes two to tango and have the effort put in. But some people have ulterior motives, and they always had plans to, do something to make themselves look good or look a certain way to other people. I don't have an audience that I'm trying to look like something I'm not. When I go through stuff, I speak it and I'm honest. And I speak about the decisions I make, because I'm not perfect, but one thing's for sure, I put in a lot of effort to build bonds with people that are solid. But I'm not about to keep being the one that's, like I said, being breadcrumbed. So I'm fine with being alone, trust and believe. But shouts out to, social media and the people who actually pay me any mind on here. You can have all these followers on social media, and people just want to be tit for tat. Everybody want to be in the lane of someone who is doing what they want to do for themselves. There's too much going on, but I ain't going anywhere. You can leave. You can exit if you got a problem with me or my page. But otherwise, keep watching. So that's that. In the light of self, let nothing damage the energy I built on my own heartache. Heartbreak is the toughest way to heal, but it can help if it comes from someone who wants to work with you and through it. But if not, then you can continue to work through your heartache on your own, and nothing will be able to come in between the healing that you've achieved. Rule number 1 of self-rejuvenation is releasing people who do not reciprocate your love. And I'm not talking about environments right now. I'm talking about the noun of human beings. Release people who do not reciprocate your love. And I say that to say, or I say that to express, that when someone refuses to compromise with you, when it comes to reestablishing a faulty foundation, or when it comes to working things out and working through them, that person has to be strong enough to, not be distracted by other people's opinions, for one, not be deterred by other relationships or other situations, not blur the lines of what you're asking for with their own emotions, and just be blind or closed off to what you're expressing about how you feel. If a person is constantly brushing off how you feel and putting you to the back burner and doing all this kind of stuff like that, calling themselves healing in the midst of healing from them doing you dirty, you have to remember, some of those narcissistic tactics, you got to let those go and recognize when a person is being a manipulator to get their way, have their cake and eat it too. We all experience things like this, whether we see someone else go through it or we go through it ourselves. So in light of rule number 1, you have to be able to take responsibility for the pain that you have, and whether or not you self-sabotaged or if you self-inflicted the pain. Self-sabotaging is something that some people or some of us do when we are trying to heal, but we're not necessarily trying to tackle the exact root of our issues or our pain or our hurt. We're trying to mask ourselves and our truth and pretend it's something that it's not, or we're trying to compete with someone else's truth in the midst of not taking responsibility for the actions of our own position, not taking accountability for the self-sabotage, or it's accountability for the self-ruin. When you truly sit there and ruin a relationship with someone, and then you pretend that person is the one who did it to themselves, and you blame them for doing something against the relationship, against the bond. You stab them in the back, you betray them. The ultimate betrayal is cheating in a relationship, especially in marriage. So there's different types of things. In friendship, there's different types of ultimate betrayal, where someone can backdoor you, set you up, try to find ways to hinder your happiness, your peace, get in between the blessing of whatever type of intimate relationship you receive, a job, any type of thing, or your business, any type of thing that you try to build. If the person that you are building with is also against you, or able to be easily persuaded to go another direction, or to leave you in the dust, or betray you, or hinder you, or try to delay you, you have to be able to recognize those things, because you don't want yourself to lose sight of where you're trying to go just because someone you are with, or someone you are friends with, or someone you are used to doesn't necessarily want to condone or uplift or push you in the direction that you've been trying to go in. And if people around you don't want to support something you have going on with another person, you have to really decide if you care so much about what people feel, or if you actually want to be with that person. And then from there, you have to go on with your life. If you want to live by what people feel and think you should do all the time, you shouldn't be with someone who is typically a lone wolf, or someone who likes their environment to be stable and comfortable, or who's a faithful person. Be with someone like yourself. And most of the time, people end up meeting someone who, gives off that same type of energy. People don't have a tendency to match love. People have a tendency to match energy. And so when you are treating someone like trash, or you typically treat people in that manner, you can attract someone who wants to do the same. The only thing is, you have to recognize when you actually treated that person that way to deserve that, or if you treated someone else in that way to deserve that. If you never deserved it, trust and believe everything that you've suffered through, you'll be paid back tenfold with the blessing of recovery. And that's a part of self-rejuvenation as well, is the recovery period is true. You have to be true to life. In past times when me and this particular friend fell out, it was deeper than a friendship, and I felt like there should have been more time given to the time to repair, but not just alone. I shouldn't have had to repair alone. I shouldn't have had to leave an environment alone and find my way alone, especially because I was with somebody who was saying one thing about being down with me, right, or having a bond, versus not truly being there with me. They weren't really there with me. They weren't all in. They weren't 10 toes. There wasn't any of that going on. It was me alone. It was a one-sided thing. So as I'm still alone, when I say alone physically, I know I'm not alone spiritually. I know I'm always guided and protected. I know I'm always taken care of. I'm provided for. And I have gratitude for where I am. But it's just crazy how I waited a long time because I had a vision of going somewhere in a partnership. But some things the universe just changes for a reason. So when a person refuses to compromise with you, and you acknowledge your pain as well as being admitting to the fault that you played, but then you can see that that person always also is admitting to the fault that they played in the destruction of the foundation. That foundation might have been built on one-sided focus, a one-track mind, or different objectives. But if a person isn't honest with you from the jump about their objective or their plans or their intentions, and they were never truthful from the beginning, how would you know that they're going to be someone who is self-destructive, self-sabotaging, and wants to drag you down with them because they don't know how to build a solid foundation? They've built foundations on faulty grounds, faulty terms, shady intentions. And, I could go on, but, I won't speak too deeply on that. But the thing about me is I don't match energy. And the thing about me also in this rejuvenation day, I want to say, I am able to look back at who I am and who I was and really reflect on that as I am reshaping who I am. And there are a lot of changes that I made for myself. And in the midst of that, I also accepted that not everyone would be able to accept that of me. When you're trying to have a spiritual growth opportunity for yourself, or you feel yourself going through an ascension where the truth is constantly hitting you in the face, you can ignore it if you want to, but you're only going to bury yourself into a web of bullcrap. You're really going to bury yourself into a state of sleep. Even if you are awake, you're going to feel like you're in a sunken place because all you've done is live by means of untrue feelings. You've abused the opportunity to be a truthful person to someone, to be genuine, to be sincere, especially if a person has cried in front of you, has expressed their true nature of insecurities or, things that made them feel beaten down from needing to separate from you. A person that doesn't understand your nature. Like for me, I go back and forth with needing time to myself from people because I had a lot of depression built up over years that I didn't know how to tackle. I didn't know how to work through. And it came to a point where I accepted that I'm a person who refuses to stay vested in relationships and situations that are not feeding me the same energy of love that I give. When it comes to the energy of a person, an individual, I try to get to know them and how they feel, but I don't try to poison them to make them think like me or to make them feel like they have to feel like me or they have to understand life like me or they have to understand our bond like them or I have to be exactly like them. That's not realistic. That's not even a twin soul. People have true soul connections based on genuinely being able to understand one another and the nature of one another, but not trying to drive the course of making that person be what you think they should be, or not forcing yourself to have to shape yourself on the timeline of what they think you should be like, or ever having to try to change who you are for anyone else but yourself. Any changes I made them on my own accord, my own time, and on my decision of what I wanted to let go and release, right? So that's what I mean by I don't match energy, especially in this day. If there was a time I did in the past and you're still holding on to who I was in the past, thank you for being who you were to me in the past. Because right now, who I am probably just isn't going to be welcome to a relationship with you if you're still someone that is not able to accept that I've changed from who I was in the past, or that I took the time away from you so that I could do better for myself and make changes from the way that I was in the past. And not just the way that I was, but the decisions I was making. Even if I was to go back into certain arenas or environments, I've done so much healing time. I took so much time to heal certain things that were burdening me. And that's another thing too. You can't force a person to understand your burdens, but I spoke my truth to a lot of people about things that hurt me, who I consider friends, who I consider close family or close, loved ones, or a person in a relationship. I expressed myself to the depths and core of my soul, and the pain and the things that I was hurt by, and the things that I carried over into that relationship with those people that I didn't realize that I was just carrying and just transferring into new relationships. I wanted to take the time to separate myself so that I could truly define who I was, understand her, and allow her to shed things, to shed skin and old weight, old pain, old cycles, old ways of thinking, things that were deterring me. Even when it came to religion, I had to just let myself be free with my thinking and just allow myself to expand on other things. Especially when you grow up in a religion, you have to really just allow yourself to see what it is that you truly want to carry on with, even after you identify with what you believe. And if you're with someone who doesn't want to be free with their way of thinking, or they're bound by other people's dictation of how they should live life, or they're bound by a societal view of what love is, then you can't really force them to identify with themselves just because you're choosing to do that. They might want to identify with themselves through other people. They might want to acknowledge a relationship with someone based on what other people will say, how other people will look at it, or how other people will feel. And I'm just not like that. I'm really a genuine person when it comes to love. If I love you, I'm going to be very transparent about why I make decisions I make, why I move the way I move. I'm all about stability. If you don't understand that I am uncomfortable in an environment, and you try to force me to be there, and you try to force me to not be able to get the opportunity to at least clear that environment with me, or do things to cleanse the energy of the relationship that we have, and which planted a toxic seed in that environment, I don't want to force anyone to feel like they have to do that. That's why I remove myself. And if a person can't hear me when I speak on reasons why I felt like I needed to extract myself from the picture, that's another thing I can't force a person to understand. So, as I don't match energy, I value my stability, and if a person refuses to work with me, I no longer have it in me to beg. And yes, I'm not ashamed to admit that I have begged before. I have begged, people that I love to just really try to reciprocate understanding to me, because I never try to make people not be who they are. But I hate when people try to make me be who they think I should be. I hate when people try to force something of me that isn't true to who I am. And that's one thing that I will always allow myself to be to myself because of. I will always allow myself to separate and be with myself when I'm finding out that I'm not being supported just simply for who I am, by the people that I've given that same love and support to. So I've rambled on much, much, much too much, but it's been a long, beautiful day. And like I said, I could get emotional right now, but the emotions that I have are those of release. Blocking out things that I feel as though have literally just been around, lingering to manipulate me from allowing myself to remove myself from certain habitual things that I've done. If a person isn't concrete with their feelings and they're not telling me this is what you do and I dislike it, but can I understand why you do it? I don't hear that. People just want to judge, point the finger, and say, what they feel, but not really truly have a conversation with you to understand you as well. they want to make it all about themselves, and I'll let people have it. That's just where I am in life. I have to keep pushing, and you're gonna see me keep it pushing this summer. Is one thing for sure, two things for certain. I'm not doing this 90-day retreat to repeat anything that I felt or spoke in 2020. This is a completely different ball game. And yes, I still have the peace that I've created for myself. I still have the energy of the field and aura that I've designed for the earth angel embodiment that I am, as well as the goddess that I've evolved myself into being. And that took time to allow myself to be initiated into the Empress hood, into the goddessship of being who I am, and literally embracing that and being okay with anyone having anything against that. The thing about it is, I was never seeking anyone's validation outside of myself and the higher creator of all things. So when people don't accept me, I accept them, because ultimately I don't have the time to put energy into reciprocating something that's of filth to someone just because that's what they're choosing to project. I'm pretty respectful to the laws of spirituality and karma and dharma, and I really appreciate growing up Christian and then breaking the cycle of being bound to generational religious practices. And I'm speaking on that because I actually am someone who escaped that, and that entrapment was mental. And I'm very happy with respecting religion and the foundations of it, and how the Bible really gave me some pure clarity on more than just relationships, but the stories of men gave me the understanding of how to build a foundation with my innovations for myself. And I've grown to accept that I may have to walk alone doing that, because you can't make anyone understand you or support you in the midst of doing so. And especially being a woman, a Black woman, wanting to do something in an independent way, please. I haven't met a man yet to say, I want to support your vision, not because I want to sleep with you, not because I feel like I want to have some form of control of you, or I should own you, or you should be thinking like this, or other women. I don't have time for that. And, rest in peace to Kevin Samuels, but I ultimately understand that people speak from a place of their own trauma, but also they speak from a place of their own experience. I've dealt with men who, the same way he did, abuse my character and my independence, my creativity in public, but then in private, they speak on how they admire it, or they want to get to know more about what I'm doing and where I'm going. But that's not genuine to me. If you're not going to be that way in public, then don't come to me in private and try to be something that you are totally not going to claim all around the board. And I'm not trying to prove or create any type of elusive ideas of who a person is, but I mean, in reality, most men date younger when they haven't healed from not being able to accept or embrace certain relationships they had with someone who was on their level when it came to experience and time in service of being a human being who is possibly a humanitarian or a philanthropist, or someone who is for the community, someone who is not for the community for self-gain or for some type of praise, but literally wanting to see people do better for themselves, and because people deserve to be in good positions in life. And I've just gotten to the point where I want to gain my own stability for myself first now. I'm not putting effort and time into things outside of myself until I gain my stability. And if someone wants to work with me, I'll know the difference, but I'm not going to try to force it upon anyone. If someone doesn't want to communicate effectively with me and honestly, I will give them the chance like I've done before. But it's no more chance giving moving forward. I'm done with the whole extending myself in ways that are beyond what I need. It used to be meet me halfway, but now you're going to have to come all the way across the street if you want to fuck with me on that level. And that's just how I am now. Who you knew me as before, I was a very generous person. Very, very questioning when it came to always wondering why something. I don't just let things just pass me by and just make assumptions. I question them. I question people. I'm like that boy that made that comedy Reasons Asking all them questions. Yeah, I'm her. I'm the one that's going to ask you 50,000 questions. I'm going to get in your mind as much as I can. I'm going to dream with you or assist you with learning how to dream. I'm going to be a part of the developing of a spiritual bond, because that's what I truly am seeking. Something that's more depth, has more depth to it, not something that's just superficial or on the surface. And no offense to people who want that. No offense to people who want less than someone who honestly communicates. No offense to people who want to settle for something because they need to, or because they don't feel like they have any type of goal or intent to go anywhere other than where they are. That's your path, though. Those are your self journeys. And this is speaking on my behalf when I say this is a day of self rejuvenation. Even if you are having this as a day of self rejuvenation, or this was for you, understand that it still was yours, because the day that you had was completely different from mine. But in building a soul or spiritual bond, people can speak about those things in an honest way, and such where they can pour into one another, where they feel there has been breakages, if that's the word, any type of hindrances and things like that, But it takes time, and this is just day one, y'all, and I'm just going all in. I'm looking forward to doing more marketing on my YouTube channel, expressing more this time around for my 90-day retreat. You will see some different views than probably what you did before, because I was in a car before. But as you know, I got rid of my Clyde, which was my 2013 Audi A6 that I purchased myself for graduation. And I just know that, releasing that was a part of releasing everything else I released, to include, wanting a divorce, so that we could choose to learn how to work through the things that were an issue and actually communicate effectively, so that we could build upon something. But when a person shows you they don't want to be a part of growth with you, yeah, you got to keep watering yourself. You got to keep growing. You have to keep nurturing your spirit. Otherwise, you'll stay stagnant. And I don't want to be stuck. I'm fine with growing and expanding my horizons. And like I said, right now I'm trying to, establish a foundation of my headquarters. But I will go, and I will go, and I will go to plenty of places. I'm not afraid to travel and go out and see the world. And I'm a person who loves sightseeing. I like seeing other cultures, other blends of living, and just smelling different air, eating different food, trying new music and places and art, and I just love expression, and I love freedom of evolution. So I want to say in closing, with self-rejuvenation, don't feel as though you have to block out people for a permanent period of time, or that you even have to do it at all. If you're a person who can multitask, then you probably know how to associate yourself with people, but you possibly may want to incorporate learning how to know when you need to separate, know when you need a break, know when you need to escape, and take that, no matter who's getting mad about it. Take that time for yourself, if you are capable of doing so for yourself. And if you are not, I send my love to you, because I can only imagine how it feels to feel like you have to comply with the people around you and how they view and think about the decisions you make, instead of just making decisions solidly for yourself. And that's what I'm doing. I'm constantly making decisions for myself, and respecting when people make decisions for themselves. So to the person who, wanted to kick me out of their home tonight, instead of just communicating with me ahead of time, I just want to let that person know, as this chapter is closed, I'm thankful that they finally found a way to at least be honest through their actions. And yeah, that's just that. I'm not going to keep, like I said, begging in this season. I have no time. So I do want love, but I'm not chasing it. I'm going to embrace my divine feminine energy. I'm going to bask in this peace and this aura of love that I am constantly evolving through. It feels so good. Like, it feels so good to have release, you guys. I'm going to get into a place where I'm stable again. Yes, I'm in transitional housing, but that was a choice. I could have stayed, somewhere where I was being ignored, or where I wasn't being given the time of day to work through the struggle of overcoming betrayal. When you're around people who are not understanding, you can't force a person to make it be accountable for themselves, but you also can't force a person to see things from outside of their own points of views all the time. Some people are just stuck in thinking that they're right and their way is right and how they think is right, and we could go on all day about people like that, but I'm just a person who is just open-minded. I like to understand other people's points of views and not dismiss it, because we all have our entitlement to our feelings. We are all leaders as well of our own lives. No matter how many things we may need to follow, we don't all have to be bosses of a company or own businesses and corporations. Some of us be leaders of our own lives, meaning our home is where we lead, where we dominate, where we make sure our foundation is solid, where we build and make sure that the bond that we have in that home, or the bonds that we have in that home are built on solidity, on truth, on understanding, on reciprocation, and on give and take. If there's no equal give and take in a relationship, there really is nothing there. There's no structure. If you live off of titles and superficial ways of viewing relationships, then you're not going to understand what a spiritual bond even is, or why I'm even speaking on being in tune with someone. You can build a spiritual bond with somebody and never even meet them until years later down the line. Or you can meet someone, separate, and build a spiritual bond from a distance. You can build a spiritual bond in the midst of the trauma that you've suffered with somebody. But it truly has to be you working on your spiritual body and that person working on their spiritual body. And it's a constant. It's a constant. And I hope that people are able to come out of any type of dark places they are when they are going through or experiencing what's it called? Like they're doing shadow work, or unintentionally they're going through their, shadow phase. If you're going through that, it's okay, because ultimately I feel as though it should signal you that you're going through some form of ascension. And ascension is always a beautiful thing, because it means you're getting closer to your higher self. And out of all the things that we may believe or disbelieve, one thing that we must all understand is that there is a higher version of who we are. There is a more higher minded person within who we have settled in who we are right now. And we can settle in the energy that we're in for the rest of our lives. Not all of us will be honest ever. Some people will take their bullcrap to the grave, and that's how they will live their life, being buried under their bullcrap. But we all see things from different points of views. I don't need a bunch of people surrounding me or rooting for me to tear someone else down. I would prefer genuine people who understand my pain and why I speak my truth, why I express my honesty, and why I still stick it out through being honest with a person. If they can't handle the truth, then they can't handle me. They're not going to handle that I'm more than just the one woman that I appear to be. There is a lot to me, and I accept that as well. That's why I always have no issue with being the one who separates myself when I see that I'm beginning to be too much for a situation, environment, persons, or people. And I know I'm supposed to be closing this out, but I mean, this day of self-rejuvenation has really cleared a lot of things from my spirit. After this, I'm out in the park, like I said, but after this, I'm going to go to my transitional housing. I'm going to settle down, and I'm going to smudge. I'm going to sage and cleanse my energy from this day, and just prepare myself for tomorrow, because the plans that I had this weekend to do with a friend, guess what? I'm still doing that. I'm still doing everything I had planned for this weekend. And I'm actually excited because I kept postponing this because I wanted to do this with this particular friend. But honestly, it is what it is. Life goes on. I'm very much okay with the release that occurred in this day, all in all. Breathe with me for about 3 deep breaths. Inhale through your nose and out your mouth. And we will say, I am blessed. I am favored. I am love. And, got the chills. Embrace yourself. Speak some great affirmations, not just in the mornings in the mirror, but sometimes at night when you're laying in the bed. just speak to yourself sometimes. And this is just a suggestion, but it's definitely a fact that it feels good. So I don't want to cross over into the next day too far, so I'm going to leave this here, and I hope that you tune in with me this summer with the different things that I have planned for my 90-day retreat in 808 Tavern, 90-day retreat edition, 2022. It is going to be different, like I said, but it's going to be some similarities, of course. But I'm going to be showing you the engagements more so, and just highlighting the moments that are options of my choice, to have for this 90-day retreat, but also the moments that I share with letting this renewal of rebirth be a more grander opportunity for me. My first rebirth, I was still kind of in a place of thinking I needed to please certain people or be sorrowful for the decisions I made to separate myself. But I don't apologize for doing it. No, I don't apologize for anything anymore that I did for myself. And that's that. You either work with me or you don't, you feel me? And when it comes to me and other people, it is what it is. Friends end, some return to be better than what they were. Others remain broken and others repair themselves. But one thing's for sure, you always have the option to be more understanding of another person's time of depression, distress, and give them the chance to be heard and for their feelings to be felt outside of themselves. I've always been that type of friend to other people, but I realized I didn't have too many people that were understanding to me when it was time for me to go through my pain, when it was time for me to go through my shadow side and really get in tune with the heartbreak that I hadn't released or I've been holding on to and carrying myself in ways that were a detriment to myself. No more self-sabotaging, no more self-destruction, no more accepting breadcrumbs, no more settling for less than what I'm worth or what I deserve, and no more forgiving to end up back in the same cycle. No. Forgiving is no longer, I used to say observe, accept, forgive, and surrender yourself, to the higher divine power, creator of all things, your higher self and such like that. But it's all to forgive mainly yourself, because after I thought I needed to try to forgive other people, people don't care. People do not care about what they did to you. They didn't care when they did it, and trust and believe they don't care afterwards. They want to see how far they can go to pretend they cared. And see how far you will let them repeat the same things or worse. But you have to have your power, take your power back, and keep your power and maintain your power, and let it only grow, not be stripped away from you again. And it's okay to want a partnership or a bond with someone that is unbreakable. Shouts out to Alicia Keys. If there's difficulties and you're the only one who's willing to express those things or willing to take a chance to escape, to work through those things, and it has to be talked through. Everybody doesn't want to have to try to read your mind or try to make assumptions. Things have to be talked through. Things have to be expressed in a truthful manner. And if they're not, you will continue to be in a cycle of faulty foundations, and to me that's fake love. Just being real. If you're being unaccepting to someone else's truth, but lying about yours or withholding information, keeping secrets from a person that you want to spend your life with, it's not real love. Shouts out to Mary J. Speaking on all the artists that I admire in the music, because I will be getting back in the studio. I'm looking forward to it, but I'm taking my time. Maybe you'll see, maybe you won't in this 90-day retreat me do those particular things, but I'm gonna, like I said, just do my best to just do some different things. And in the midst of it, it's about grounding and stability for me, and actually doing it in a way where I'm not thinking about a foundation with someone else. I'm grounding myself right now and starting a rejuvenation period to where my rebirth is allowing me to rebirth and do this for myself, by myself, with the intent to make sure that myself is good. And it's not a selfish thing to take care of myself, because who the hell else is going to do it if I don't? I don't look to other people to be my caregiver. I look to God to provide me with my needs, and which I'm so thankful that Allah has provided for me, protected me through and through, taken me out of places and situations that I wouldn't have found my way out of without the divine, and taught me the lessons that I needed in order to receive blessings afterwards. And I'm very much open to the reality of what's coming to me. No more delays. And I've spoken your heads off, but shouts out to those who listen to the spiritual talks, who have spiritual sessions of their own, and who have a divine way of seeing other people's situations and being able to just be attuned with hearing stories other than their own, and not being broken by their own to the point where they're too triggered by someone else's pain or trauma, or they're triggered by someone else's period in their spiritual journey. We all have our own point in time of where we are in our journey. We either can accept someone and where they are in their journey, or we can extract ourselves from their lives and just be leaving them to feel misunderstood. But they'll eventually learn how to grow through that if they are truly embedded and invested in the change that they're trying to make for themselves, and the greatness that they're trying to bring to a future for themselves and the people that they're wanting to have bonds with. And like I said, when we leave people for a period of time, sometimes we can be around them every day physically, but we're leaving them spiritually to get in tune with our spirit again, to get in tune with what we feel and believe, and not always needing to be validated by other people's opinions so much, or other people's ways of viewing things, but literally finding a way to accept how we view things and accept how to be able to pour into someone else in the midst of them having their own views. You can only be with somebody that's different from you if you are able to accept difference and understand similarities in the midst of oneness. What makes us the same is being able to tune into each other's differences, and nurture a new part of ourselves from seeing those new things, and evolution of seeing new things in our dreams or in our visions. And shouts out to the visionaries. Like, it's a hard not life when you are a humanitarian but you're a visionary, because you want to be able to see other people acknowledge the bigger picture in the way that you acknowledged it. But in reality, everyone has their own view, everyone has their own sight picture. So focus on your own, focus on your health and mentality, but also understand that that doesn't mean that you have to block people out completely to the point where you never return. But understand that if you return and they don't accept you, don't lose sight of the energy that you've evolved into, and the greatness that you made of yourself, and to the abundance that is coming for you. It's coming. Your blessings are coming. I want to speak life into everyone who watches my videos and listens to my spiritual messages in this 90-day retreat. Understand that your blessings are coming for you. I don't know if people forget, because we don't hear it enough. As much as we hear all these negative things, we don't hear too much motivation on a day-to-day basis. We hear a lot of deterring things. And I just want to say, if you are building a business and you're unsure if that's what you should be doing, take the time to really get in tune with where you are, and if you are happy there, and if you are truly taking the happy inwards, like seriously, like truly taking it seriously and loving on yourself. Just truly get used to everything that you're becoming for yourself. And I allow unity, peace, love, and truth. I want to just say that this has been a beautiful night, a beautiful day, and I open up the doors of abundance and love and blessings to you all in the genuine and most sincere manners that you're deserving of, and that we all are able to learn from our lessons, good and bad, to open up doorways for new opportunities, fresh energy. If you're single, be single, enjoy your single lifestyle, enjoy the chance to kind of get back on your own 2 feet, feel that freedom again, and then decide if you do want to get back into the game of relationships and dating, what kind of person you want to be in that new foundation of thought, and in that new energy of and that new foundation of thought and that new energy of this is who I was, but this is who I'm becoming, or this is who I am now. And may the people that you welcome into your new energy embrace you, accept you, and love you genuinely for that. I'm about to get out of here because there's some weird noise going on. I don't know what animal that is. I've been out here. Maybe I overstayed my welcome. But I'm still going to go and smudge and, do some grounding meditation tonight. Shed some things from this day and prepare for tomorrow. Thank you so much for the time you spent with me tonight. And this is Bree India and Self Journeys 90-Day Retreat in 808 Tavern, 2020 or 2022 summertime edition of 90-Day Retreat. And sending you love, light, peace, and blessings. May greatness continue to evolve around you, and may you continue to be protected, loved, and uplifted by the divine, by your loved ones, and by everything that you entitle yourself to. Blessings. Bye.
should shine. Rebel loudest, you know it's finally your time. It's your time. Rebel loudest, you breaking cycles in no time. Come out the mud, it's your time. Come out the mud, it's time to shine. Come out the mud,